Hi everyone, my name is Larry and I'm one of the pastors at the Village Church in Hamden in Baltimore. And today I'm going to show you a few quick tips on how to shoot a decent selfie video with a cell phone. The first thing you want to be aware of is the issue of background noise. We have a culture of noise pollution and we may be unaware that noise all around us is bleeding into our video. This may include people talking in the background, or car traffic, or a noisy computer fan, or a microwave, or a laundry machine. All of these things may make it more difficult for people to hear what you're trying to say. Additionally, if you want to add a background track to your video, the background track may clash with some of that background noise already picked up by that video. So take a few moments to just be quiet and listen intently for the noise around you, and try to find an environment where you don't hear very much noise. Next, you want to be aware of the visual background right behind you. There are a few different options for you. The first is to find a semi-blank background like this. This is a great example. I say semi-blank, not totally blank, because totally blank sometimes comes across as unrealistic or unnatural, like you're in the Matrix or something. But semi-blank gives you a little bit of character. It's a little bit interesting, but it's also clean and non-distracting. So something like this is great. If you have bricks that's unpainted, that's great. If you have wood paneling, that's great. If you have some kitchen tiles or something like that, that would work great as well. Another option is to have a slightly busy background. A super busy background may be too distracting, but a slightly busy background like this can invite viewers into your setting, into your context, and it just creates intimacy. What you put in your background also communicates things about yourself. So for example, if I have a bookshelf, then I come across as smart or well-read. If I have paintings, I come across as artistic or something like that. So you can be intentional about what you put behind you, and that can complement your message. And on a semi-related note, make sure you check the edges of your screen to make sure there aren't any unwanted items in the shot. In this shot in particular, there's a heater that you can see on the corner over here. There's also part of a mason jar that you can see that is right next to the phone that's holding my phone up. You also don't want to capture that. So just be on the lookout for things like that. Now let's talk about lighting. You don't need fancy equipment to do it. Sometimes people think you need fancy equipment to have good lighting. You might, but you definitely don't for decent lighting. The sun will do just fine, and the sun is available to all for free. In the morning or in the early evening when the sun is above the horizon but not over your head, when the light is streaming in through your windows, that's a great time to shoot. If you don't have that sunlight, then you can use a lamp. A normal lamp will do just fine. Just make sure your room is well lit. Here, I'm going to give you a demonstration for my current setup. This is with the light off. This is with the light on. Off, on. But where do you position the light source? Well, there's two things to be aware of. The first can be demonstrated by this diagram that I drew. You want to make sure that you are not between the light source and the camera, whether this is the sun or a lamp or whatever, car headlights. If you are between the light and the camera, then the light will shine past you to the camera, and then you will come off as very dark. That's bad. You want to make sure the light is behind the camera so that it's shining past the camera to you, so that when the camera is pointed at you, it picks up you and you're shining brightly. That's the first thing to know. The second thing to know is you want to make sure the light is not too strong or at a strange angle. If it's too strong or at a strange angle, then you will have a strong shadow, whether behind you or to your left or your right, and that may be really unnatural as well. It may come across like you are on a stage, or you are telling a horror story or something like that. So make sure that if you have a lamp, it's not pointed directly at you if it's close by, but it's pointed to the ceiling, and that's probably good enough to fill up the whole room, and make sure your face is well lit. Now let's talk about the position of the camera in relation to you. As a general rule of thumb, the camera should be around eye level in terms of height. If it's too low, then you'll look like a towering giant. If it's too high, then you'll look very short. Also make sure that the phone is an appropriate distance away from you. If you're too far away, then the background may be too distracting. If you're too close, then your face may look a little bit abnormal. Particularly, your nose may look larger than usual. And so make sure that it's an appropriate distance away. A good way to measure that is make sure there are a few inches above your head, and make sure that the bottom of the screen goes to around the shoulder level or the chest level. So that's up and down positioning, but what about left and right positioning? Well, the safest bet is to be right in the middle, center aligned. You can do that, of course. However, if you want to be a little bit more artistic, you can be off to the side a little bit so that your head is about 1/3 of the way across the screen. It doesn't matter if it's on the left or right. This will provide some openness and a difference of perspective. This is also helpful if you're holding a prop like this. This way there's symmetry where your head is on one side of the screen and the prop is on the other side of the screen. Another idea is if you want to achieve an imaginary interview effect, you can look across the phone to the other side of the phone, not at the camera, and you're just imagining someone is asking you questions. Just find a fixed spot and stare at that, and this can be a neat effect as well. Lastly, there are a few miscellaneous things I want to address. The first is which camera you should use on your phone. Most cameras have a rear-facing camera and a front-facing camera. The front-facing camera is the side with the screen. The rear-facing camera is the one on the side without a screen. Obviously, it's easier to film with the front-facing camera because you can see yourself while you are filming. However, on most phones, the rear-facing camera has a higher video resolution, and so it might be worthwhile if you have the time to use that side. All it takes is you just have to film a little bit, make adjustments, film a little bit, make adjustments before you shoot your actual video. The second question is, should you use portrait mode or landscape mode? Portrait means your phone is like this. Landscape means your phone is like this. For most contexts, landscape mode is recommended. Portrait is used for TikTok and IGTV, but for most mediums, landscape is the most compatible. Plus, with landscape mode, you have more openness and space. If you have stuff in the background, it captures that better, so it's more interesting, there's more character. That's what I would recommend. The last thing I want to address is if you are intending for your video to be edited, it's important that it's easy to be edited in a variety of ways. But the most important thing is that you have silence before you start talking and silence after you stop talking. This will give your editor room to work with. If you want to put a title before, if you want to transition into your video from something else, or transition out of your video to something else, if you want to black it out or something like that. So you can just awkwardly smile while you stare at the screen for a few seconds before and after. That'd be great. That's the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Happy filming.